I thought my wife snapping at me on my birthday was the worst thing that could happen. Then I saw the text message that changed everything. What I discovered next about Julian, the house papers, and my own daughter made me realize I wasn't just losing my wife. I was about to lose everything I'd ever worked for. My name is Arthur Thorne. I'm 42 years old, and I work as an IT manager for EtherCorp here in Manchester. 3 weeks ago, I thought I had it all figured out. A beautiful wife of 15 years, a 12-year-old daughter named Lily who still hugged me goodnight, and a career that paid for our suburban dream house. I was wrong about everything. It started on my birthday. I'd taken the afternoon off to surprise Alara with a home-cooked dinner and her favorite wine. Lily was at soccer practice, so I figured we'd have a quiet evening together. I even bought one of those fancy chocolate cakes from the bakery downtown, the kind she used to make from scratch when we were younger. I was lighting the candles when she walked through the front door. Her heels hit the hardwood floor like gunshots, and I could tell immediately something was off. She dropped her purse by the entrance and didn't even look my way. "Hey, honey," I called out from the dining room. "Perfect timing. I made your favorite pasta in." "Are you kidding me right now?" Alara snapped, spinning around to face me. Her voice was sharp, angry, like I'd personally offended her by existing. "What is all this? The candles, the wine, this whole setup." I stood there holding the lighter, completely blindsided. "It's my birthday, Elle. I thought we could have a nice dinner together." "Your birthday?" She repeated like those words tasted bitter. "So, you decided to play house, to pretend everything's perfect. Do you have any idea what kind of day I've had?" The accusation in her voice hit me like a slap. I set the lighter down carefully, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'm sorry you had a rough day. I just wanted to." "You wanted to what, Arthur?" "Fix everything with pasta and wine." She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You think you can just snap your fingers and make everything okay? That's not how life works." I watched her face as she spoke, and something shifted. Maybe it was the way my shoulders sagged or how my hands fell to my sides. Maybe she saw something in my expression that reminded her this was supposed to be a celebration, not a battlefield. Her whole demeanor changed in an instant. The anger drained from her face, replaced by something that looked almost like panic. "Wait," she said, her voice suddenly soft. "I didn't mean it like that. I'm distressed from work. I love you, Arthur. You know I love you." She stepped closer, reaching for my hand, but I pulled back slightly. The damage was already done, and we both knew it. "Of course," I said quietly. "I know." But standing there in our dining room, surrounded by the romantic dinner I'd spent hours preparing, I realized I didn't know anything at all. That night, I couldn't sleep. Alara went to bed early, claiming she had a headache, but I heard her phone buzzing against the nightstand every few minutes. Each vibration felt like a small electric shock to my already frayed nerves. Around midnight, I got up for water and noticed her phone screen lighting up again. Just a quick glimpse, but I caught the name at the top of the notification. Julian. Julian. I'd never heard that name before. The next morning, Alara was already gone when I woke up. She'd left a note on the kitchen counter saying she had an early meeting with potential investors. Her coffee mug was still warm, lipstick stain on the rim. "Dad, where's Mom?" Lily asked, bouncing into the kitchen with her backpack slung over one shoulder. "She had to leave early for work, sweetheart," I told her, pouring cereal into her bowl. "I'll drive you school today." "Cool. Can we stop at Starbucks?" She grinned, and for a moment, everything felt normal again. But as I drove Lily to school, my mind kept circling back to that name. Julian. The way the notification had popped up so late at night bothered me more than I wanted to admit. "Dad, you're being weird," Lily said from the passenger seat. "What do you mean?" I glanced at her in the rear-view mirror. "You keep gripping the steering wheel like you're trying to strangle it." "Smart kid, too smart sometimes." "Just thinking about work stuff," I lied. "Is everything okay with you and Mom?" The question caught me off guard. "You guys have been acting strange lately." I pulled into the school parking lot and turned to face her. "Everything's fine, Lil. Your mom and I are just dealing with some grown-up stress. Nothing for you to worry about." She nodded, but I could tell she wasn't buying it completely. "Okay, but if you need to talk to someone, I'm a pretty good listener." After dropping her off, I sat in my car for 10 minutes staring at my phone. I could call Alara, Ask her directly about Julian. That's what the old me would have done. The trusting husband who believed in open communication. Instead, I drove to work and spent the day pretending to focus on server upgrades and security protocols. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw that notification lighting up in the dark. When I got home that evening, Alara was already there cooking dinner like nothing had happened. She smiled when she saw me, kissed my cheek, and asked about my day. How was the investor meeting? I asked, testing the waters. Exhausting, she replied without missing a beat. These startup guys think they know everything about market strategy. She was lying. I could tell by the way she avoided eye contact, focusing intently on stirring the pasta sauce. The same sauce she'd made 100 times before, but suddenly it required her complete attention. That night, after she fell asleep, I did something I never thought I'd do. I carefully lifted her phone from the nightstand and tried to unlock it. Password protected, of course. But as I set it back down, it vibrated in my hand. Another message from Julian. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. My blood ran cold. Tomorrow is Saturday, family day, the day Alara claimed she never scheduled work meetings. Saturday morning came with a weight of unspoken questions. Alara left the house at 9 a.m. claiming she had to meet her wellness consultant about a new program for her company. She kissed my cheek and told me she'd be back by lunch. Julian's supposed to be really good at stress management techniques, she said, adjusting her makeup in the hallway mirror. My jaw clenched. She just dropped his name casually like it meant nothing. But I knew better now. Where is this meeting again? I asked, keeping my voice steady. Downtown, some coffee shop near his office. After she left, I made a decision that would have shocked the old Arthur. I was going to follow her. I dropped Lily off at her friend's house for a sleepover, telling her I had some errands to run. Then I drove downtown and parked across from the coffee shop Alara had mentioned. 20 minutes later, I saw her walk in. She wasn't alone. The man with her was tall, athletic, probably my age. He wore an expensive-looking jacket and had the kind of confidence that came from never being told no. He placed his hand on the small of Alara's back as they found a table by the window. I watched them for an hour. They leaned close, touched hands across the table, laughed at things that couldn't possibly be about wellness programs. At one point, she showed him something on her phone, and he took a photo of them together. This wasn't a business meeting. This was a date. When they stood to leave, Julian pulled Alara close and kissed her cheek. Not a friendly goodbye kiss, something more intimate, more possessive. I followed them to the parking garage, staying back far enough not to be noticed. They stood between their cars for another 10 minutes, talking quietly. I couldn't hear the words, but their body language told the whole story. She was having an affair. My wife of 15 years, the mother of my daughter, was cheating on me with some wellness consultant named Julian Vance. The drive home felt like a blur. I kept replaying what I'd seen, trying to find some innocent explanation. Maybe they were just friends. Maybe I'd misread the situation. But when Alara came home 2 hours later, she was glowing. Her cheeks were flushed. Her smile was genuine for the first time in weeks. How was your meeting? I asked. Productive, she replied, not meeting my eyes. Julian has some really innovative ideas about work-life balance. I bet he did. Sunday night, I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Alara and Julian together, touching, laughing, sharing secrets I wasn't part of. By Monday morning, I made another decision that would have horrified my old self. I was going to bug our bedroom. I had an old digital recorder from when I thought about starting a podcast 5 years ago. It was small, had good sound quality, and could record for hours on a single charge. While Alara was at work, I hid it under her jewelry box on the dresser. If she was talking Julian on the phone, or if he ever came to our house, I'd have proof. The waiting was torture. Tuesday and Wednesday passed without anything significant. Just normal conversations about Lily's school schedule and weekend plans. Thursday changed everything. I was reviewing the previous night's recording when I heard Alara's voice, soft and secretive. I can't keep doing this, Julian, she said. Arthur is starting to ask questions. A male voice responded. Julian, obviously. Then maybe it's time we move to the next phase. What do you mean? I mean telling him the truth. We've been planning this for months. Jules, The house papers are almost ready. House papers. My blood turned to ice. I know, but Lily will adjust. Kids are resilient. And once we're in Sutton Heights, she'll love the new school district. Sutton Heights. They were planning to take my daughter to another city. What if he fights for custody? Alara's voice was worried. Julian laughed, and the sound made my skin crawl. With what lawyer? You've been moving money to our account for 6 months. He won't be able to afford a decent attorney. Our account. They had a joint bank account, and Alara had been stealing from our family to fund it. You're right, she said, and I could hear the relief in her voice. God, I can't wait until this is over. I'm tired of pretending to love him. The words hit me like a physical blow. Tired of pretending to love me. How long had our entire marriage been a lie? Just a few more weeks, Julian assured her. Then we'll have everything we need to start fresh. I stopped the recording and sat in my car, hands shaking. They weren't just having an affair. They were planning to destroy my life completely, take my daughter, steal my money, and leave me with nothing. But they'd made one crucial mistake. They'd underestimated me. I wasn't the same trusting fool who'd believed in happy endings and communication. I was a man whose family was being stolen from him. I was going to fight back. The next morning, I called in sick to work and drove to the public library downtown. I needed to research Julian Vance without using my home computer. If Alara was monitoring my online activity, I couldn't risk tipping her off. What I found made my blood boil. Julian Vance wasn't just some wellness consultant. He was a predator. His LinkedIn profile showed a pattern of targeting married women in corporate environments. His previous job had ended abruptly 2 years ago, and when I dug deeper through news archives, I found a brief mention of a harassment complaint that had been settled out of court. The woman who'd filed the complaint was married with children, just like Alara. I spent 3 hours gathering information, printing everything I could find: photos, articles, employment records. Then I drove across town to a small electronics store I'd never been to before. I need a voice-activated recorder, I told the clerk. Something small with long battery life. Spy stuff. The kid behind the counter grinned. We've got just the thing. I bought 2 devices, one for the car, one as backup. If Julian and Alara were meeting in person, I was going to document every word. That evening, Lily noticed my distraction during dinner. Dad, you've been stabbing that chicken for like 5 minutes, she said. Did it do something to offend you? Alara laughed, but it sounded forced. Your father's just stressed about a big project at work. Actually, I said, looking directly at my wife. I've been thinking we should take a family vacation soon. Maybe Sutton Heights. I hear it's beautiful this time of year. Alara's fork clattered against her plate. Sutton Heights? Why would you want to go there? Just heard good things. Nice schools, great mountain views. The color drained from her face. She excused herself to take a phone call, but I could hear her whispering urgently in the next room. 20 minutes later, she announced she had to run to the store for milk. I followed her. She drove straight to a 24-hour diner on the edge of town. Julian was waiting in the parking lot, leaning against his car like he owned the world. I parked behind a semi-truck and activated the new recorder, then rolled down my window just enough to catch their conversation. He knows something, Alara was saying. Her voice panicked. He mentioned Sutton Heights at dinner. Out of nowhere. Julian put his hands on her shoulders. Calm down. There's no way he could know about the house. What if he's been listening to our calls? What if? Then we move up the timeline, Julian said firmly. I'll have the papers ready by Friday. We can have you and Lily out of there by the weekend. But the money transfers are untraceable. I made sure of that. My hands gripped the steering wheel so hard I thought it might break. They were planning to kidnap my daughter. What about Arthur? Alara asked. Julian's laugh was cold. What about him? By the time he figures out what happened, you'll be legally separated and living in a different state. He can visit Lily on weekends if he's good. If he's good, like I was some disobedient pet. I'd heard enough. I had their entire plan on recording now, along with evidence of the financial theft. But as I drove home, I realized documentation wasn't enough anymore. It was time to go on the offensive. Friday morning, I took another sick day and drove to the law offices of Sterling and Gray Legal. I'd done my research. They specialized in family law and had a reputation for aggressive representation. Eleanor Sterling was a woman in her 50s with steel gray hair and eyes that missed nothing. I laid out everything on her desk, the recordings, the financial records, the documentation of Julian's past. "Mr. Thorne," she said after reviewing everything, "you've been very thorough. This is clearly a case of adultery, financial fraud, and attempted parental kidnapping. What can we do?" "Quite a lot, actually. We can freeze all joint accounts immediately, file for emergency custody of your daughter, and have your wife served with divorce papers before she knows what hit her." "How long will that take?" "I can have the paperwork ready by Monday." "But, Mr. Thorne, I need to ask, are you sure you want to go nuclear? This will destroy any chance of reconciliation." I thought about Alara's words on the recording. "I'm tired of pretending to love him. There's nothing left to reconcile," I said. That afternoon, I made a decision that felt both terrifying and liberating. I was going to confront Julian directly. I found him at the gym where he worked part-time, training some executive in an expensive tracksuit. I waited until his session was over, then approached him by the juice bar. "Jules, wait," I asked. He turned, flashing that confident smile I'd seen in the parking lot. "That's me. Do we know each other?" "I'm Arthur Thorne, Alara's husband." The smile vanished instantly. For the first time since I'd started watching him, Julian looked uncomfortable. "Look, man, I don't know what she's told you, but she didn't tell me anything," I interrupted. "I figured it out myself. Nice work on the financial planning, by the way. Very thorough." His face went pale. "I don't know what you're talking about." I pulled out my phone and played a snippet of the recording, his voice saying, "The money transfers are untraceable. I made sure of that." "You recorded us?" He stepped closer, and I could see the calculation in his eyes. "That's illegal." "You know, actually it's not. Manchester is a one-party consent state. As long as one person in the conversation knows about the recording, it's perfectly legal." "You're bluffing." I played another snippet. "We can have you and Lily out of there by the weekend." Julian's jaw tightened. "What do you want?" "I want you to disappear. Pack up, leave town, and never contact my wife or daughter again." He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Or what? You'll play your little recordings for a judge? Good luck proving anything." "I don't need to prove anything to a judge," I said quietly. "I just need to send these recordings to your current employer, your professional licensing board, and that woman from your last job who filed the harassment complaint, the one you paid to keep quiet." The blood drained from his face. "How did you?" "I'm an IT manager, Julian. I know how to research people, and I know how to make information go viral very, very quickly." For the first time since this whole nightmare began, I felt like I was in control. "You have until Monday to leave town," I continued. "If you're still here Tuesday, every person in your professional network will know exactly what kind of man you really are." I turned to walk away, then stopped. "Oh, and Julian, next time you want to steal someone's family, maybe don't leave such an obvious digital trail." Saturday morning brought an unexpected phone call. Vivian, Alara's sister, sounded nervous when she asked to meet me for coffee. "There's something you need to know about Alara and Julian," she said without preamble when we sat down at a corner table in Starbucks. "I'm listening." Vivian fidgeted with her coffee cup. "They have history, Arthur, more than Alara's told you." My stomach dropped. "What kind of history?" "They dated in college for 3 years. Julian was obsessive. When Alara broke up with him to date someone else, he stalked her for months. Campus security got involved. The pieces started falling into place. He was at our wedding, wasn't he?" Vivian nodded miserably. "Alara invited him. Said they were just friends now. I told her it was a mistake, but she wouldn't listen." "How long has this current thing been going on?" "Since last Christmas. He contacted her through LinkedIn. Said he'd changed. Wanted to catch up. One thing led to another. Christmas. 8 months of lies and deception." "There's more," Vivian continued. "Remember when Alara thought she was pregnant 5 years ago? I felt cold all over. She said it was a false alarm. It wasn't false. She was pregnant, but she lost the baby at 6 weeks. Arthur, she told me she wasn't sure if it was yours or Julian's." The coffee shop seemed to spin around me. "What? They've been having an affair then, too." "A brief one, but..." Vivian's voice trailed off. I'm sorry. I should have told you sooner. I sat in stunned silence, processing the magnitude of Alara's deception. Our entire marriage had been built on lies. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. Because Julian called me yesterday. He wanted to know if I'd testify that you were an abusive father. My hands clenched into fists, and I told him to go to hell. Arthur, you're a good man and a great father. Lily adores you. I won't let them destroy your relationship with her. What exactly did Julian ask you to say? That you had anger issues. That Lily was afraid of you. That Alara had confided in me about your violent tendencies. None of which is true, of course not. But Arthur, they're building a case against you. Julian's been documenting everything. Photos of you following them. Recordings of your confrontation at the gym. He's trying to make you look like the unstable one. I pulled out my own phone and showed her the voice. Recording from the diner parking lot. Let him try. I have documentation, too. Vivian listened to Julian's voice discussing the kidnapping plan, and her face went pale. My God, they're really planning to take Lily. Not if I stop them first. Vivian, I need you to do something for me. If they ask you to testify, agree. But when you get on the stand, tell the truth about Julian's history, about the stalking, about the pregnancy scare. You want me to lie to them? I want you to protect your niece. Can you do that? She nodded firmly. Absolutely. As we left the coffee shop, Vivian grabbed my arm. Arthur, be careful. Julian's not stable. When Alara broke up with him in college, he threatened to hurt himself and blame her. He's dangerous when he doesn't get what he wants. Great. My wife was planning to run away with a sociopath, and they wanted to take my daughter with him. Monday morning arrived with the weight of inevitability. I'd spent the weekend preparing for war, and today was the day everything came to a head. I call Alara at work around noon. We need to talk, I said. Tonight, after Lily goes to bed. Arthur, I'm busy. It's not a request, Alara. We're talking tonight, or we're talking in front of lawyers tomorrow. That evening, after Lily finished her homework and went to her room, Alara and I sat across from each other in our living room like opposing armies preparing for battle. I know everything, I said without preamble. The affair, the money transfers, the house in Sutton Heights, the plans to take Lily. Alara's facade crumbled instantly. Arthur, please let me explain. Explain what? How you've been planning to kidnap our daughter. How you've been stealing from our family savings. How you've been lying to my face for 8 months. It's not kidnapping if I'm her mother. It's kidnapping if you're planning to disappear without legal custody arrangements. And it's theft if you're financing it with money you stole from our joint accounts. She stood up and started pacing. You don't understand. Julian and I, we have something real. Something I never had with you. You mean something you had with him 15 years ago when he stalked you across campus? Her face went white. Vivian told you. Vivian told me a lot of things. Like how Julian asked her to lie about me being abusive. Like how you weren't sure if our miscarried baby was mine or his. Alara sank back in her chair. That was different. We were having problems. We were having problems because you were cheating on me, just like you're doing now. You're right, she said quietly. I've made mistakes. Mistakes. I pulled out my phone and played the recording of her saying she was tired of pretending to love me. This isn't a mistake, Alara. This is calculated betrayal. She listened to her own voice condemning our marriage. And I watched her realize the game was over. What do you want? She asked. I want you to choose right now. Our family or Julian. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. You call Julian and tell him it's over, permanently, or I file for divorce and full custody tomorrow morning. Your choice. You can't take Lily from me. Watch me. I have recordings of you planning to kidnap her. I have evidence of financial theft. I have testimony from your own sister about Julian's history of stalking and manipulation. I leaned forward, making sure she understood I was deadly serious. But more than that, Alara, I have something you don't. I have the truth. When a judge listens to that recording of you saying you're tired of pretending to love your husband, when they see the evidence of you stealing from your daughter's college fund to finance your affair, who do you think they're going to trust with custody? The silence stretched between us for a long moment. If I choose you, how do I know you'll forgive me? She asked. You don't, but you know for certain what happens if you choose him. She picked up her phone with trembling hands. As she dialed Julian's number, I felt a mixture of victory and sadness. I'd saved my daughter and my future, but the woman I'd loved for 15 years was gone forever. The woman sitting across from me was a stranger who just happened to share my last name. Alara's phone call to Julian lasted exactly 4 minutes. I listened from across the room as she told him their relationship was over, that she was staying with her family, and that he needed to leave town immediately. His response was everything I'd expected from a narcissist who wasn't getting his way. Even from across the room, I could hear him shouting, making threats, demanding explanations. "Jules, stop," Alara said firmly. "It's over. Don't contact me again." She hung up and turned to face me. "He's not going to just disappear, Arthur. He's angry. Let him be angry. Angry people make mistakes." Julian made his first mistake 2 hours later by showing up at our house. I was ready for him. When the doorbell rang, I opened the door with my phone already recording video. "We need to talk," Julian said, pushing past me into the foyer. "Actually, we don't. You're trespassing on private property. Leave now. I'm calling the police." "You think you've won something?" He was agitated, aggressive. Nothing like the smooth operator I'd observed from a distance. "You have no idea what you're dealing with." "I know exactly what I'm dealing with. A stalker, a con artist, and a coward who targets other men's families because he can't build anything of his own." Julian stepped closer, trying to intimidate me, but I held my ground. "This isn't over, Morgan." "Yes, it is." I pulled out my phone and showed him the screen. "I've been recording this entire conversation. You just threatened me on my own property in front of witnesses." Alara had come downstairs and was watching from the living room doorway. Lily was upstairs, but I could hear her footsteps above us. "You got 10 seconds to leave my house," I continued. "After that, I'm calling 911 and pressing charges for trespassing, harassment, and making terroristic threats." For a moment, I thought Julian might actually take a swing at me. His fists were clenched, his face red with rage. But whatever calculation was running through his head told him the odds weren't in his favor. "This isn't over," he repeated. But he was already backing toward the door. "Yeah, it is," I said, following him outside. "And Julian, if you ever come near my family again, if you ever contact my wife or daughter, if you so much as drive down this street, I'll make sure everyone in your professional network knows exactly what kind of man you really are." He drove off without another word, tires squealing against the asphalt. When I came back inside, Alara was sitting on the couch crying quietly. "Thank you," she said without looking up. "I didn't do it for you. I did it for Lily." It was harsh, but it was the truth. The woman I'd married was gone, replaced by someone I didn't recognize. We could rebuild something new, maybe, but it would never be what we had before. That night, for the first time in months, I slept peacefully. My daughter was safe, my house was secure, and the threat was neutralized. I'd learned something important about myself. When everything I cared about was threatened, I wasn't a passive, trusting husband everyone thought I was. I was a fighter. 6 months later, I was sitting in a coffee shop downtown reviewing project specs for a new client. Ether Corp had promoted me to senior IT manager after I'd successfully redesigned their entire security infrastructure, work I'd thrown myself into after everything with Alara and Julian settled down. Lily was thriving. She'd made the honor roll 3 straight quarters and had joined the school's robotics team. More importantly, she seemed genuinely happy for the first time in over a year. "She can sense when things are stable at home," her school counselor had told me. "Kids are remarkably perceptive about family stress." Alara and I were still married technically, but we were living more like roommates than spouses. She'd started therapy to figure out how she'd become so susceptible to manipulation. I was seeing a counselor, too, working through the betrayal and rebuilding my sense of trust. "It's going to take time," my therapist had said. "You can't rebuild 15 years of trust in a few months." The financial damage had been significant, but not catastrophic. We had recovered most of the stolen money through insurance claims and legal action against Julian's accounts. He left town the day after our confrontation and hadn't been heard from since. Vivian had become an unexpected ally, helping bridge the gap between Alara and me during family gatherings. She'd also provided additional testimony about Julian's history that helped our lawyer build an ironclad case. I should have told you sooner, she'd said during one of our conversations. I thought Alara would come to her senses on her own. We all make choices based on the information we have, I'd replied. The important thing is that you did the right thing when it mattered. As for Alara and me, we were taking things one day at a time. Some days were better than others. She was working hard to rebuild my trust, and I was working hard to forgive her. Whether we'd ultimately stay together remained an open question, but I'd learned something valuable through the whole ordeal. I was stronger than I'd ever imagined, more capable of protecting what mattered to me than I'd given myself credit for. The old Arthur would have blamed himself for the affair, would have wondered what he'd done wrong to drive his wife away. The new Arthur understood that some people make choices that have nothing to do with you. And sometimes the best thing you can do is protect yourself and the people you love from the consequences of those choices. I finished my coffee and headed home. Lily had a soccer game that evening, and I promised to help her practice penalty kicks before dinner. Life wasn't perfect, but it was honest. And after months of living with lies and deception, honesty felt like a luxury I'd never take for granted again. My phone buzzed with a text from Lily. "Dad, can we get pizza after my game tonight?" I smiled and typed back, "Absolutely. Extra cheese. You know me so well. Love you, Dad." "Love you too, kiddo." Some things, I realized, were worth fighting for, and some battles, when you fight them with intelligence and determination, you actually win.